Hey, let's talk about the KX2. I've never really done a review on it and what I thought and what other radios I would compare it to. So there's the KX2. It's a great radio. I bought the Shack in the Box kit that came with the internal tuner and the battery and the battery charger, the bag, and cable, owner's manual, the other manual, which is a guide, which was extremely helpful. The other radios I've had, I have the 857, the Yaesu 857, and I also had a Yaesu 817, and that's the radio that I'm really going to compare this to. When I first got the radio, I had them both hooked up side by side with a switch box. Keep in mind that on my 817, I did have the optional filter in it, the 2700 filter that I purchased for the radio. I actually still have it. I have that filter in my Yaesu 857, and it does make a pretty big difference. So I had that in the radio, but the difference I found on loud stations, you really couldn't tell any difference between the two radios. The speakers are about the same, but on the quiet stations, the stations down in the noise, there were some stations down in the noise on the 817 that I couldn't make out. I could hear them, but I just couldn't make them out. And on the KX2, I don't know if they were necessarily that much louder, maybe a little bit, but the audio seemed crisper, and I was able to make out the words and what they were saying much better. And I switched back and forth. I did a lot of testing before I just finally decided to get rid of the 817, and I sold it to another member of our club. I gave him a nice little deal on it because I know that he would use the heck out of it, and I know he has been using it. Now, my only gripe about the KX2 is the internal battery. It's not that the battery's bad, but you can't, you have to take the battery out of the radio to charge it. And to do that, you have to loosen these two thumb screws, take the whole back off, and the speaker's attached to the back, so there's a wire that runs to the inside of the radio as well, that connects to the rest. And it's just kind of a pain. So I went with an external battery, and I've been using an external battery, this 3 amp hour BioNO, which will run this radio all day long. In doing that, you get a couple of, there's a couple of things that you get. One is you can run 10 watts. The internal battery is a lower voltage. I believe it's 11.5. And you can only run 10 watts for a little while, and then it automatically will start dropping the voltage because it can't maintain the power to run 10 watts. With the BioNO, I can run 10 watts all day long. In fact, the radio will go to 12 watts, and I can run 12 watts all day long if I wanted to. But I normally just stay right at 10. I have not had a problem with heat with the radio. I don't have the side rails on the radio that, they have a heat sink built into it. I don't have that, but the radio's never shut down or drop power because of heat. And it's been in the sun. I do try to stay in the shade no matter where I go. I'm not going to sit in the sun myself. But if it was sitting in the sun on a hot picnic table and you were operating, you may have a heat problem. It may not be able to dissipate the heat. I have not had that issue the whole time I've had it, and I've had it for over a year now. Also, with the external battery, being a BioNO battery and being a standard lithium LiPo battery, is you can easily charge it with a solar panel. You don't need a special charger. With the internal battery, since the voltage is lower, you have to have a solar controller that you can drop the voltage down. So it makes it a lot easier charging it on solar power. I like being able to just take the BioNO battery since I use that one. I also have a 12 amp hour BioNO battery that I can use if I'm going to do field day or something like that, where I'm going to want power for days, basically, with this radio. It seems like I never charge this 3 amp hour battery. Like today, I came out today and operated for less than an hour to do the park activation. and made 41 contacts with it. So it is great. I do normally, like when I'm at home, I use headphones with the radio because it just sounds so much better. The rear-facing speaker on it, unless you have something behind it to echo back the noise, it doesn't work that well. The speaker on the back, if you're laying it down flat on something, it can be muffled sometimes, so you do want to prop it up. Microphone is decent. I know some people some people say, oh, because it's so small, the buttons have multiple functions, and that is true. Each button has usually 2 or 3 functions, but it's just like any other radio. Once you get used to it, it's very easy to use. I know some people say, oh, it doesn't have a keypad, and it does. This is 1, that's 2, 3, 4, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. But once you get used to using that and entering frequencies, it's really easy and not a problem at all. I think the radio is pretty simple to use. The menu system is really good. It's easy to navigate through and find. The Yaesu menu, to me, you had the functions with the 3 buttons at the bottom. You could go through a bunch of functions there, but then you had a separate menu. You could go in and change other functions. That could be kind of confusing. It was kind of the same way. There was a little bit of a learning curve to it. The manuals that came with it were great, and I was up and running in no time. I really haven't had any issues with it. I know the tuner in it is great, and they say the tuner is fantastic. I honestly try not to use the tuner if I can help it. Today I'm using a linked dipole cut for 40 and 20, and it's resident the entire 40-meter band. When I do operate, if I still hit the tune button, and it's a good way to know if your antenna's in tune or out of tune. Instead of just watching the SWR bar, I'll just hit tune. If it tunes funny, I'll hear it, and I'll know that, hey, my antenna's touching the ground, or something happened, or one of the wires is loose or something like that. But I haven't had any issues at all. I love the radio. I love how small it is. With the radio itself, with the internal tuner, without the internal battery, it's less than a pound. With the microphone, I think it's I'm trying to remember the weight. It's a little more. Altogether, with the battery, with my 3-amp-hour battery, everything I need, it's just over 2 pounds, which is less than the IC705. I'm not going to bash any radio out there. Every radio, all the radios are good. The G90, that's a little bit bigger radio, but still portable, maybe more car portable. The 705 with the waterfall and the touchscreen, it looks fantastic, and I'm sure it's a fantastic radio, but everybody likes something different. I know the Lab 599 radio appeals to me too because it's so rugged. But I think people mistake sometimes weight for durability. I think the KX2 is just as durable as the 817. The 817 is much heavier, so it feels more solid. The KX2 is lighter, but it's in a metal. It's a metal case. It doesn't seem any less durable to me. I wouldn't want to get any radio that I own wet. Even if I had the 599, I would try my hardest not to get it wet. I think, that's a death sentence for most radios. When I go home, I don't leave the radio in my bag in case, especially if it was out and it was very damp. I take the radio out and I set it out. I set it back up on my desk, and I use it there. That way the radio's drying out. I think if you were out in a damp environment and the radio got damp and you put it, sealed it up in your bag and left it tucked down in your backpack, or in a like one of those Harbor Freight cases or a Pelican case for a long time, I think that moisture could cause you problems. So avoid that. But I think that's with any radio out there. I think everybody who operates portable tries to be careful. You're not going to bash your radio around. So I'm not too worried about the durability. The little screen here, this little plastic cover, I do have a little scratch on mine, but I think it would be easy to get another piece of plastic, take these 4 screws out, and replace the screen. I don't think that's a problem. The connectors on it, I haven't had any issues with the connectors, and I disconnect it and connect it all the time. I use this at home as my primary radio too. The only other radio I have, I said, is the 857, and this is just way better. I still use the 857 if I need power, if I'm doing a special event, or if I'm going to be net control for something. I will use the 857 just so more people can hear me. But in most cases, if I can hear them, I can work them. Not always, obviously, but in a lot of cases, if I can hear them, I can work them. So I haven't had any real complaints. I got a lot of great signal reports today, 5.9 from different areas. You know, that's just great to have with QRP. So I love the KX2. I think there's a lot of great little portable radios out there, and I'm actually looking for, once I learn CW, maybe I'll look at one of the mountain topper radios or something like that, just strictly a CW radio. But I think I have a way to go. I'm still not brave enough to bring my CW key out here and try to activate a park using CW. I listen to a lot of CW, and I still think I'm not there yet, but I'm going to keep working on it. So that's it for my gear, for my radio review of the KX2. Again, the 817 was a great radio. I loved it. No complaints. I do think that digital modes, setting this radio up for digital modes might be a little bit easier. There's two jacks, one for speaker, one for microphone, and then there's the accessory jack for cat control. And I plug those in using standard 3.5 millimeter stereo connectors into a USB sound card, and I am on digital modes. Again, great. For a radio this small, it has the voice recorder, which you see me use to call when I'm doing podo activations. Sometimes you don't always get contact right away and have to call for a while. With this, using it that way, I don't have any trouble. So again, that's been fantastic. Having that, the voice recorder, and being able to replay that recorded message so you don't wear your voice out is a great thing too. But I think that's all for the KX2. So no matter what radio you like, get out there and enjoy it. You know, get out there and enjoy the outdoors. You can go POTA, SOTA. There's lots of good events that will get you outdoors. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe below. You can click the bell too to get notifications when new videos come out. And have a great day. This is Tango Oscar Mike 73. Take care.
Tango Oscar Mike